we overlook the simple things, and one of those would be consistency.
It's easy, right, to be able to say, oh, I'm just too busy to do this, or it's just too hard, or whatever the excuse may be. It's easier to find excuses perhaps than reasons why. We could just simply state that a goal should be something that is not final, but is just simply becomes a part of us.
Make the goal about momentum, about the growth, not about the destination.
Right.
Because you're going to come to that destination, and then you're like, oh, wow, that is pretty. And then you're like, now what?
Well, welcome everyone back to another episode of The Lighter Side of Heavy Things, a podcast for two therapists, myself, Chris Clark, along with my co-host here, Dwayne Horton, discuss and talk about some of those lighter sides of the heavy things that come up in our practice as we work with our clients. So as we, I guess, kind of finish out this month of December, we're as well kind of coming to an end on this idea that we've been working on over this past month regarding change, right?
Right.
And so to kind of end a little bit of that, we're kind of coming to the ending portions of that cycle of change, or what we kind of feel are the important points of it, right?
Right. Well, kind of the successes we've had with helping people change, because that's what therapy is change, right?
Right. Big change.
Yeah. Sometimes bigger than you thought.
Right.
But yes, change in essence.
And, something that came up that I know kind of leads into what we were talking about last week with overcoming the plateau, is that idea of maintaining, I guess, drive as we move forward through this change that we're making, right?
Right.
So what have you seen as being helpful in kind of maintaining that overall, I guess, drive, or whatever we want to call it, motivation moving forward?
Well, motivation, it's a momentum thing, right? The more energy, I'm a physics nerd, for every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. I use that all the time in therapy, but there's also this one is an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless a force acts against it, right?
Right.
Last time we talked about plateauing effects. So, the resistance pushing against it could potentially stop us in our tracks from making and achieving our goals.
Right.
Other things is it would include the old habits starting to creep back in, right? Those are the negative effects that's going to subtract from our momentum. So if we can have a way to kind of push through those and having the momentum would be good. But what does create momentum? To me, this is not rocket science, and people are like, they can roll their eyes at all they want, I guess, but we overlook the simple things, and one of those would be consistency.
Right.
Make something happen at the same time every day. Back when I was young, I didn't have hair then, but I was younger.
Yeah.
Sarah and I, we ran marathons. And one of the trainers and the principles they taught us on running a marathon is begin that marathon at the same time you're going to run your race. So if your race is going to start, at 8 a.m. on local time, where you want to run the race, adjust that time frame.
Right.
But then you got to make that every time you run, you want to make it that way. That way the body's all the fuel, the body's like, okay, I know what's going to happen now. The system in itself is ready to fire and act. So make it sacred. Make that time sacred, whatever it is. So if you want to lose weight, schedule it. Don't just say, I need to lose weight. Yes, I need to go to the gym. No, schedule the gym.
Yeah.
If you want to make money, schedule it. Schedule time to work. Schedule time to learn about how money works.
How to invest.
How to invest, right? Spend time with the topic. But it's got to do it at the same time every day, because the body responds to that consistency.
Right.
People tend to find a pattern of eating that works for them, that they start doing it. It's so consistent so that people make jokes about when they retire, right? Like, oh, I'm going to sleep in. And then they start waking up at the same time they've always woken up.
Yep.
Right? It's not rocket science.
No. And I I wonder if sometimes we overcomplicate it just to make ourselves feel better.
Oh, that's actually interesting. Yeah.
But
It makes sense, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, I would do it, but you have to face yourself on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for example, right, you bring up the idea of losing weight, because I feel like that's pretty common. I think a lot of people in some way deal with some sort of health thing that they want to better themselves, but
Mm-hmm.
it's easy, right, to be able to say, oh, I'm just too busy
Mm-hmm.
to do this, or it's just too hard, or whatever the excuse may be. It's easier to find excuses perhaps than reasons why.
Well, it's easier to say I can't do this because an external factor versus I failed because I didn't do the work.
I
Right?
failed because of me.
Yeah. Like when in reality, if we really want to say we're a free people, the only reason we could really say we fail is because of us.
Mhm.
Sure, like I mean, there's reasonable, very on the top 1%, the 2 standard deviations away from the median, like
Right.
excuses, like war broke out. Okay, well, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody hit me in the street with a car, but even then, that would be interesting. There are people like the sausage breakfast links came because of a guy who had a farm accident. And after he had the farm accident, he had to start using his mind somehow. And so he used his mind to think, what would the American people want? Oh, little breakfast sausage links.
Yeah.
And he made millions being a quadriplegic.
Yep.
Right? But I mean, owning that. We've talked about this in previous sessions. Like, one of the hardest things for people is to really look at themselves in the mirror.
Right. Because that tends to be the person who's going to be the biggest, I guess you could say, detractor to the change that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, again, you bring up those laws of motion. I think that it's very easy to be productive once you allow yourself to do that. But it is also equally important to understand that sometimes it takes a real big push to get you going.
Well, even that, it is, a physics principle, right? To get a car to accelerate from 0 to 60, you use a ton of energy.
Oh, yes.
A lot of energy, right? But once you're at 60, you can cruise that with very little energy.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming you're on flat terrain, right?
Yeah, right.
If you're downhill, it's even better.
Right.
But, the same as for us. If I have to change my habits, starting is going to suck. Mm-hmm. I have to put a lot of energy and focus. But maintaining that momentum once I get to that point is a good way to do it, right? So those same principles we talked about before, being honest with ourselves.
Yes.
Accepting responsibility for failure. Maybe it's going to say, like, even like, I was thinking like natural disaster. Sure, the natural disaster could happen, a fire, something like that. But I often look at those as like, I could think of many, many people who've created incredible businesses when things have completely fallen apart.
Right.
In their worlds. And everybody should have said give up, but they didn't. Right? That's a free person there.
Mm-hmm.
Come what may, they're going to be happy. They're going to make things work for them. So owning that freedom helps build the momentum. That makes it hard, right?
Yes.
But it also gives you full access to the rewards you're going to receive.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I think that builds momentum, though, is also socialization.
Yes.
Yeah,
because there's nothing more fun than not only seeing positive change happen to you, but feel
you
like
wanted to say funner, huh?
Funner.
I was like, dang, look at that, like, proper English here.
Yeah. Right?
I'm impressed. I can't think that quickly. I was like, what was he doing there?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
That's what happens when you have a mom who's a speech therapist.
Oh, no,
and a teacher.
That's what happens when you have relatives that are rednecks. So.
Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing more fun when you are making real, meaningful, positive change and seeing that than sharing it with those around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And helping them be able to see what it is that you're accomplishing.
Right.
And so, part of that socialization, it's important that in whatever we're making changes with, or how we're making those changes, to have people who are either part of that process or making others aware of what it is that we're trying to do or change.
Right. And I think it helps with accountability that way.
Yes.
But another aspect of socialization is you want to attract the best. That means you want to be around the best.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Steve Jobs infamously said that he only wanted to work with the best. And what he found is when he started working with the best is that the people that came to him were attracted to him because he wanted to be the best.
Right.
And so it wasn't like they were competing to be the best. They were trying to build something together that was irrespective of money.
Mm-hmm.
Something fun.
Yeah.
Right? But just something like, I mean, nowadays, this is funny. I told you about this a few weeks ago. I don't know when I told you. I'm talking about, but sometime I've told you. Talk about this funny debate that's happening in NBA about who the GOAT is.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I do remember this conversation.
You remember that conversation? I think it's hilarious, first of all. But because obviously Michael Jordan, like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no offense. LeBron James, you're pretty awesome, but, you never got clotheslined by Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
But not to bring that in, but what made Michael Jordan amazing wasn't just that he was the best. That guy was driven,
Mm-hmm.
and his drive brought out the best in others.
Yeah.
They wanted to be the best. Like, I did not know this in this, but like Dennis Rodman, that dude, I didn't know that guy would spend hours dissecting rebounding. I'm like, you jump and grab a ball. I mean, I'm not an athletic person, but this guy seemed to. Dennis Rodman could tell you stuff about it. Mm-hmm. Scottie Pippen, man, that guy, he was part of the magic that made Michael amazing.
Yes.
Right. He's so, in essence, that Michael Jordan not only drove himself to be the best, but he also brought out the best in those around him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He surrounded it. Successful business people do this. Same with successful, if it's weight loss dieters. They don't talk to their old friends that are, I don't know, making cinnamon rolls on the weekends. And, they're talking to people who like, hey, I like being healthy. Let's go for a hike. You want to come and join me?
Right.
Right. No, I'm not going to eat a dozen cookies this weekend because like I like feeling good. I'm not one of these people, basically, what I'm confessing here.
Yeah. But, that kind of brings up this idea. I mean, we kind of talked about it before we started recording, this idea of the general versus the mercenary.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
How a general is going to be someone who's more focused on building something up and something greater than themselves, rather than the mercenary who's just looking for, who's paying the most.
Right.
And there's no, they are completely able to be swayed by who's able to give them the greatest asset.
Right.
And whereas the general's not, they could care less about that sort of an idea. They're more concerned about building a legacy or a dynasty around themselves.
Right.
Which means that they're not afraid to bring people on who may know more than them, or who may be able to help them be better, because they're not worried about being overshadowed.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's about a cause. And in our country, we have an amazing example of that right at its inception.
Mm-hmm.
George Washington.
Yeah.
George Washington did not campaign for his position.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to talk, this is where I get nerdy. I'm nerding out right now. I could feel it. But like, he didn't want it. When he left for the convention, for Congress, right? He told Martha, he says, I'm going to be called on to be the general, but I don't want this. But he was definitely the right guy for the job. There were other generals there, Greene and others, that had greater war experience. But what made George Washington amazing was his ability to build up people. I mean, if you even want to go back in early of his life, he provided Britain with one of their most embarrassing defeats in the wars. Like, it was so much so that it was mocked on in our country, you know, in the colonies at the time, and then even back in
World
Britain,
stage.
like, it was bad, and you know, but he owned it. People knew that about him. So he brought out Hamilton. He brought out Jefferson. He brought out what was his guy's name? I'm terrible with names, as you know this. But this guy had this idea of, hey, let's get these cannons down from up in New York area. We'll bring them down here. And the guy said, okay, go for it. You know, Washington said that. He could see greatness in others, and he knew how to build them up. And many of them were far smarter than he was.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting as you bring in this aspect is that for someone to be truly successful in their ability to change, it almost requires them to also be vulnerable as well, right? To be able to admit that there are areas within their life that they aren't as confident as they would like to believe themselves to be in.
Again, another physics principle, right? You can have a chain that is, weighted. Every link on it, -1, is weighted at a 5-ton weight. And one link is, a 250-pound link, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter how strong all of those are. That 250-pound one is the only one that determines what weight load that can actually hold.
And that it's interesting to be able to, I guess, for those people who are successful, right? They're going to be paying attention to what is my weak link.
And how do I shore that up? How do I bring someone who can come in and fix this for me?
Right. Like, for me, you know how much I like golf. And anyways, I think of, Tiger Woods, for example, right? Now, he wasn't always the greatest driver of the golf ball off the tee. But what he became very well known for is his approach game with his irons. Right. And that's where he built his strength up, because he knew, I'm not going to be the greatest off the tee, but if I can get my ball on the green and close to the hole, I'm going to have a better chance of scoring than the rest of the competition.
Right. And the same thing is with us, with our clients. And, we want to know, his goal was, I wanted to win, right? Our clients' goals may be, hey, how do I overcome my thinking problems or this trauma from the past or whatever, right? Yeah. For people losing weight, they have this goal. For George Washington, it was, we need freedom because we need representation. Yeah. Right? We have tried. Every avenue was not working. They could have just rolled over and given up. But they put their names on principles.
Right. And they weren't afraid to fail.
They knew if we failed, they were dead. Yeah. So they had no backtracking, right? They were going to go for it. It's that same principle if people want to lose weight, they're going to surround themselves with people who have succeeded at losing weight, by people who
want them to lose
weight, or people who are fascinated with rock climbing, right? Yeah. So socialize that. Bring in people who are smarter than you, and learn to think as they do. Yeah. Doesn't mean you're going to become carbon copies of them.
Right. And it's also being comfortable with the fact that it's okay that you don't know everything, or that you aren't, as skilled as someone else. Because being able to have that at least humble attitude is going to be what's going to drive you to changing for the better.
Which again is we talk about the discomfort of freedom, right? When you have to look at yourself and say, hey, this is my fault. But to me, what you just said is the positive side of freedom. Yeah. Not having to know everything is freeing. Right? Yeah. That is freeing. Now the question is like, okay, how do where do I go to find the information I need?
Mm-hmm.
How do I hunt that down and seek that out? Right.
And this kind of comes into the later stages that we've mentioned or talked about that are very important with this change cycle. Is what do we do once we're starting to see those changes happening? Once we feel like we're reaching that end goal, what do we do now?
Once you get there, to me, it's like the idea of the biggest mistake I'll start with that. Actually, this popped in my head. I was going to go a different direction. I think I'll start here. The biggest mistake I see is they say, hey, I reached it. Then the end. Well, what happens now? There's nothing that's going to overcome the forces of that want to slow that momentum, right? So the old habits start coming back in.
Yep.
And you start seeing all that stuff, all the old ways coming back. That doesn't. They go back to where they were or worse, right? I mean, there are weight loss shows that showed that.
Oh yeah.
Right. Their drive was to, hey, I want to lose all this weight. Hey, I want to make money. Hey, I'm making fame, right?
Yeah.
And then the lights went away. The cameras were gone. It was just them.
Right. I mean, there's shows as well where they had, was it hoarders? They'd have someone come in, someone to help them learn how to organize, to get rid of all their stuff, all this sort of thing, right? And that was great. It worked. And then once everyone was gone, they went right back to it, right? And so it's very important that once we reach a goal, we don't see that as a finality of anything, right? That means that we keep it going and we keep working towards wanting something more with that. Well, for most goals, it's probably good to be able to maintain that as well.
Kind of, it's interesting the way you conceptualize that. Made me think maybe the goal isn't, an outcome variable, right? Like lose weight.
Right.
Maybe we're looking on the wrong side of that equation, like X plus Y equals like weight loss, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we need to say, let's focus on that left side of the equation. What makes X and what makes Y that I can add into my life? Because if I have X and Y, I'm going to naturally lose weight. So maybe in essence, the goal should be, how do I keep and maintain momentum?
Yeah. And if we're talking about weight loss, maybe it's not that, maybe the goal shouldn't be, I want to lose 100 pounds or whatever amount we want to throw out there. But it's, I want to live a healthy lifestyle so that I can make it, so that I'm able to do this when I'm, 70, 80 years old.
Right.
Because naturally, if you want to be able to, let's say, go hike, Mount Temp here in Utah, and you say, I want to be healthy enough so that when I'm 75, I'm able to hike Mount Temp. Naturally, you're going to be doing things within your life. You're going to probably change your diet up to make sure that you make it there at that age, right? You're going to be getting more physically active so that you could even do that now, right? So it's perhaps, let's look at our goal and see if we need to rework it.
Right. Always make the goal about momentum, about the growth, not about the destination.
Right.
Because you're going to come to that destination and then you're like, oh, wow, that is pretty. And then you're like, now what?
Yeah.
You're left with the empty what after, right?
Yeah. Because, it's funny you mentioned that. I can think of many people who have, taken vacations where they're like, oh, I just want to go to this place and it'll be so amazing. And they get to the place and they look around and then it's almost like the magic is gone and they're like, okay, what do I do now?
Right. The dream was so inspiring to get them there, and then they got there and they're like, uh-oh. Right? But, I mean, taking me personally, like running, like what I wish I would have done. So my pivot after running, like we were running marathons. My pivot was my daughter loved cooking, and I liked cooking with her. It was something fun that we could connect with. Like I have these amazingly funny, cute videos of her with all her little, gear out, and we were baking cookies, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
I didn't channel my energy from from a healthy goal to, something else that's healthy. And also, honestly, if running a marathon is like a mental game.
Oh yeah.
And you get bored running that long, and the training on it was long, and I didn't enjoy that. That would have been a good transition moment to be like, hey, maybe I want to go back into mountain biking because I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Or maybe try doing, other things, building things into my life that way. So transitioning your goals into maintaining what you want, right? So always reevaluating it. Keep bringing in the right people. Like when I was running, like we were always watching videos on how to eat healthier, how to improve this. What is carb loading? What are good carbs? Those sort of things.
Yeah, you're consistently building yourself up and around whatever the goal is,
yes.
Right? Whatever you're wanting to achieve. And so I think to kind of summarize this point, we could just simply state that a goal should be something that is not final, but is just simply becomes a part of us.
Right. It becomes a part of our identity. Well, you look at Apple. They made, what was that early on thing?
The iPod?
iPod? Yeah, iPod. Right? The first 3 years of that, the first 2.5 years, it didn't make any money. But they created an image about it that made it popular. In the third year, they sold it. But the iPod wasn't their end goal. What they wanted to do was making something fun, interactive for people, right?
Right.
And then came the touch phone, and we had these old little flip phones, and I'll always miss those, but like having a flip phone, like, oh, look at this, and then what came out of that? Well, now we have a whole industry of apps, right? Apps started to become popular because now you have this cool thing called a touch phone.
Yeah.
And then they started redesigning the computers and everything, but it was all in their idea is like, we love technology, and we want to make it prettier, better for people,
right?
But also I suspect for themselves too.
Yes.
And so that's the idea of creating a goal. Would be, who are we? What do we want to be known as? Right? Being skinny is not the only measure of a worth of a person, right?
No.
Who do the people want to be? Knowing that for themselves, that gives them that motivation to keep trying,
right?
Adapting, changing. But also all the greats, we just touched this, kind of summarizing it. If we want to do this, we got to build momentum, right? Let's build momentum we got to make it consistent. That means we're going to have to put a ton of energy in the beginning to get the whole thing moving.
Yes.
Right? In order to do that, you have to make it a sacred time for you. Schedule it. Literally put it on a calendar. And do not let anybody interrupt it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm not sure. Have you ever seen Tiger Woods' routine that he had back when he was winning all those majors or things like that? I remember seeing a picture someone had printed of what his daily routine was, and it was like, he woke up at like 4:30 or 5 every day, and then it was like he did a 6-mile run from this time to this time, and then he was in the gym from this time to this time, then he ate breakfast from this time to this time, and then he spent time putting this time to this time, and then worked on all these particular things this time to this time, and it was scheduled, and he did it every day, throughout this like 4 or 5 year run. He was doing these things every single day,
and it fueled him. But see, to me, that's the beauty of consistency, because the more consistent you are with it, not only does the body know what to expect, but then you get to see the little things that go into it, why those small things are so important.
Right.
He could probably tell you all sorts of things about putting that nobody else would even understand.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. I think I remember looking at that, and he spent he was spending like two and a half hours a day
Putting? Dang.
Yeah, like,
this is why I'm not a golfer.
yeah.
I get no satisfaction out of that.
Well, and what's also important in recognizing that he likely didn't go out and just, well, I'm just gonna go just putt around, whatever. He probably went with a specific goal in mind in regards to this. Today, this is what I'm specifically working on. This distance of a putt, or a putt going from right to left. I'm going to be working on that.
Yeah.
Or really long, really short. Like there's going to he would likely have been focused on something very specific.
Now, people only need to do that if they want to be the top, 1% of 1% of 1%, right?
Right.
It's most people don't need that same drive in order to be successful, right?
Right.
But the principle remains and holds true. Like, I mean, take scheduling. Like, that one has become very something I'm working on, my own goal, right? I told you about this weekend was somebody called and said, hey, can I come over? And I Sarah and I talked, and I was like, oh, I'm usually very accommodating to people.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, Sarah, we got to say no. I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And if I say yes to this, now I'm putting myself further and further behind. It's not saying that we need to become selfish, but there is something about us learning to set good boundaries, healthy boundaries, to that.
And that kind of comes back around to what we had talked about, right? I mean, we think about our clients with the goals that we're working on. Yeah, it's the principles are very typically the same to what we had mentioned with any of these other situations. Is we find out what it is specifically that they are needing to adjust or make different in their life. For some, maybe it's, I'm tired of yelling at my kids all the time, and I don't know why I do that. And we figure it out, and we work on and adjust, and we find what are those little things every day that we can be focused on that are going to help them with that.
Right. We look for their weaknesses, right? So we become aware. We hold them accountable. I am not a therapist that is, necessarily gentle. And I'm not mean, but I'm not going to sugarcoat things for my clients.
Yeah.
Because then I'm doing what the rest of the world does for them.
Well, it's in all honesty unhelpful, right?
Right. It just perpetuates the cycle that got them there in the first place.
Right. And as uncomfortable as it is for many people, being able to be held accountable with someone who has your best interest at heart is oftentimes the reason why people come in or why they continue to come back, right?
Right.
Because they understand that, they are going to, give me honest feedback, but they're not going to try to just beat me down.
Right.
They're going to say, hey, that thing came up again, didn't it? All right. What did you do? Did you do the same? Did you do something different? Or did you try to do something different and it didn't work? Okay. Why didn't that work? Let's figure that out. Right. But I think I've had clients tell me before, like, this week I had a really hard time doing it, but I knew you were going to ask me about it. So that made me do it.
Right. Accountability, right? Socialization, right? So once you get the momentum going through consistency, socializing is helpful.
Right.
Both through having people who hold you accountable, both through people who can celebrate with you, but also with people who know more than you. So you can keep learning and growing and becoming better.
Right. And then also taking time with that person or persons or whoever to be able to reevaluate your goals.
Yes.
And consider, what do I need to do to, maybe I've reached this in the short term, but if I want to continue, what do I need to do to continue to make that happen? Or how is my goal maybe shifted?
Right. And then not focusing so much on the destination, but the process to get there.
Yeah.
Finding joy in the process of getting there.
Right.
Not just getting there. Those are things that maintain long-lasting growth.
Right. And, I think that it's kind of fitting that we are ending on this principle, because I think that kind of coming up into what we have planned in this next upcoming month, where we're going to be focusing in on kind of a book that we've been reading and looking at that. It kind of encapsulates maybe a little bit of this that we've talked about, but also brings in many different ideas, right? And so we hope you guys tune in more as we kind of continue this journey of talking about these ideas of change, owning your mind, owning your thoughts, and we got some pretty fun stuff planned for you in the next little while.
Yeah, we do. Thanks for showing up. Love us, like us on, what is it, Facebook? No, Instagram, Facebook.
Yep. Check us out. Also, we got shorts. Dwayne puts out every day.
I wear shorts every day.
Yeah. On YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube shorts.
Yep.
Like, yes, people want to see my hairy legs.
Right. Well, I wonder if there's a reason why you called it After Hours. Right?
That's right. That's true.
Yeah.
I need to label that now. Don't you say that?
So check out Dwayne. With him sharing, he's puts out a few little shorts of his little thoughts throughout the week. But yeah, till next time, we'll see you guys later, and we hope you have a happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.